What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the overall market right now and what you should be watching for as time goes on. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a very important day for the stock market because we have some big bank earnings coming out, and they're going to determine which way the market ends up moving most likely. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just 3 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So, NIO is down 5.91% for the day, and overall, seeing NIO declining like this was something that we weren't necessarily surprised about. I was talking about this being a possibility if NIO ended up breaking below this key level. So for now, we ended up getting a slight decline, and NIO did end up failing to hold this $9 area. But at this point, it's going to be determined by, I would say, more towards what the market does to help us understand what this thing could end up doing. And that's why it's very important to watch and see how the market affects NIO, how it ends up affecting the broader markets. So we're going to be watching to see what happens with these earnings. There's the news that came out that NIO sold off amidst the fact that it was trying to pump initially, but it's in its range and it ended up hitting some tight resistance, and the market got a sell-off over the fact that the auctions for the 30-year bond were harder than expected. So with bonds and yields going up, this caused the 10-year to also go up too, which led to the market slowing down. That's what happened today, and this ended up affecting NIO. Now, for tomorrow, we have big bank earnings coming out. This is going to be very important. We are currently expecting a 2.1% decline in the bank earnings relative to the previous quarter. We will see if this ends up continuing. Whatever happens from here is going to affect the market, so make sure you're prepared for this and make sure you're ready. Now, to add on to this, I just wanted to mention that for the banks specifically, we have JP Morgan. We're expecting a 4.4% decline in growth. Earnings are expected to be at about a $3.89 profit per loss, or EPS. And that is once again going to be very, very interesting. And then the revenue is expected to be around 39 billion. So we're going to be seeing if there's a decline in JP Morgan, if it meets earnings or not. Same thing with BlackRock. We're expecting an 8.3% growth overall, with EPS being relatively high at $8.52, not to mention revenue being at 4.67 billion. We're going to be watching this for BlackRock, for Citi as well, and not to mention PNC and a couple of others. We're expecting declines in Citi and PNC, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. Not to mention for Wells Fargo as well. So now let's talk about this. We also have some more data coming out. 30 minutes after the market opens, well, before the market opens, we have the imports and exports data. But then 30 minutes after open, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Reports and also the 5-year inflationary expectations report. This is going to be very telling for how the overall economy is doing and what the current sentiment is when it comes to inflation and beyond. We're likely going to see a high amount of volatility at this time, so make sure you're prepared for this and make sure you're ready to see a big move. Now, when it comes to NIO has declined on low volume, only about 37 million. It's very mixed. We ended up seeing a little bit more shorting that was going on too, and we started to see a slight increase in the short volume relative to price. Deutsche Bank still has a buy rating for NIO. The price-price ratio is declining a little bit. When it comes to daily seasonality, we have a tendency of being green only about 53% of the time on Fridays, so Fridays tend to do a little bit better for NIO historically. But the shorting on NIO is starting to go up just a little bit as we saw over 9 million NIO shares being shorted. So once again, guys, we're starting to see more shorts piling into NIO. The question is, will this thing decline more? Is this thing going to bounce? This is going to depend on the bank earnings. If the banks cause some kind of bounce, we could see NIO trying to hold above 8.7. If you want to turn bullish, you want to see that happen. As long as this thing could hold 8.7, it has a chance to try to make its way back up. If it breaks below our support right here at 8.3, which is where we have this imbalance, if it breaks below this, we could be watching it come down to 8.11 all over again. Now, what is the most likely possibility? What's more likely would be the market kind of like bouncing a little bit, NIO retesting 8.61 and then potentially coming back down and continuing to decline back to like 8.3 or so. I know it's a little unfortunate for me to say, but that's very probable looking at the current trend. There's a slight change in market structure, which could lead to another decline as time goes on. And we have a potential double top-like pattern that could lead to more downside. So I just wanted to warn you about some more potential downside, but we have to be watching to see how NIO reacts to support at 8.3. There is a risk of more downside, and we'll see what the banks end up causing. So for SPY, I just want to mention that if we're bearish, you want to see this thing eventually break below 431. That's where we have some key support. If you're bullish, you want to see this thing break and hold 436 or get above the 200 EMA. What is more likely would be this thing kind of like rebounding a little bit and then maybe getting a rejection because we have a possible left shoulder here ahead and a right shoulder could be forming. And what could happen is the market kind of like rebounds and starts sinking. That to me seems like the most probable move for another move to the downside, as we could be forming a larger like hidden shoulders right here. So there could be another decline coming to the markets before the market attempts to bounce. Just wanted to call this out. So just be prepared and just be ready for this potential move. Now, when it comes to something else such as Tesla, Tesla's also looking a bit more bearish overall. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing break and hold 262.5. If you're bearish, I'm sorry, that's if you're bullish, you want to see it hold 262.5. If you're bearish, you want to see it break below the 50 EMA, which is the support right now at this 257 area. The most likely outcome would be Tesla rebounding towards 262.5, getting a rejection, then eventually coming back down towards the 50 EMA at this 258 area, and then continuing to decline towards 255. Look for a little pop and drop on Tesla. That's very likely for tomorrow, but we'll see what earnings cause, as those are going to have a bigger effect on this market. Apple is still trying to pump. We're going to be watching this 182 resistance. We have a gap that's still unfilled, so there could be an attempt for it to try to fill this gap in its entirety. So on the daily right here, we haven't fully gotten this gap fill yet. Actually, I think we may have gotten the gap fill. Let me just double check. Oh no, we did. I think we came very close to filling it. We may have filled it. So look for a little pop on Apple and some more of a decline yet. Apple is not really showing a decline just yet, but if it does do that, that could start as soon as tomorrow. So we'll be watching this to see how it leads the QQQ and etc. For the QQQ, look for a little pop towards 372, then a rejection, and for it to drop back down to 366 possibly. But if we hold above 370, there's going to be potential for the bulls. If we end up breaking below it, there could be more potential for the bears to bring it down to 368 than 366. For Nvda, if you're bearish, you want to see this thing break below 465, and then hold it. If that happens, 461 is likely coming, and there's going to be more downside. If this thing starts pushing higher, you want to be watching this thing hold above 470, then 474 to 476 becomes a possibility. The overall trend is still looking like it could be showing signs of a reversal. But in order for this to happen, we need to see Nvidia continue to sink. Now, in my opinion, we might see a rejection as we have this imbalance down here towards this 462 area that could be retested. There's a chance Nvidia kind of pops and comes down. That's the most likely possibility from technical analysis, not to mention the fact that there's this bearish divergence and we have this gap down here that's unfilled at 458. So downside seems imminent for Nvidia. We might see a slight decline because of the earnings coming out tomorrow, so just be very careful. A pop and drop seems very probable. So for NIO, what do I think is the most likely move? Like I said before, guys, we may try to pop a little bit towards this 8.6 to 8.7 area, then reject and start declining as we have a double top-like formation. And we could see NIO start sinking towards the lower 8s, towards 8.3, if not 8.1. So I just wanted to warn you about this. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, but that's the most likely possibility looking at the current trend. And I just want to be as honest as possible, guys. That's what I see on the chart. All right, so get ready for the big bank earnings tomorrow. And I will see you guys once again very, very soon for the next video. Have a good one, guys. Take care, and I will see you guys very soon. NIO to the moon because the long term is very bright. And peace out.